deadline, and we just found out. I was just reading some things, and Jeremy Reisman tweeted it out. And Bears media is funny, and Matt Eberflus, man, and what they're doing over there in Chicago. How do you trade for Montez Sweat and not know that he's going to accept an extension, John? Like you got Matt Eberflus saying, "Well, our plan is to re-sign him and keep him part of our future," and then you got Montez Sweat saying, "Hey, I don't know about that just yet." Is that not typically something you do for a team that's tanking, John, or a team that's losing? You try and get a confirmation. The guy's going to sign an extension with you, especially if you stink and the second-round pick's an early second-round pick?
Yeah, it goes to show you that sometimes when you look at an organization and you try to picture what they're trying to accomplish, it's just really tough. The Bears right now, I think, might be in a situation similar to the Raiders where they might have to kind of rethink things. You look at how they're building their team. There's issues at quarterback. They're making decisions in terms of their draft picks that many people are questioning. And you look at it for a guy like Montez Sweat, people talk across the league. And I think his message was exactly clear. I'm going to look to see what the hell's going on with this football team. If it's as chaotic as people think it's going to be, then he's going to test the market. And I think if he performs, look, bottom line, for most players, it's about the paper. And if the Bears present him a contract that he likes, he'll stay. But at the same time, there's certain things that players do want to have available to, which is a good locker room and having a little bit of stability. And right now with the Bears, it looks to be quite unstable, especially at quarterback. You look at the coaching situation. So it's very chaotic with the Bears. And it's just really the antithesis of what the Lions are going through, where there's a lot of stability and a lot of good things happening.
All right, John. Yeah, we've got everything all figured out audio wise, so it all should be good moving forward. I know the audience heard you, and that is all that matters. So when it comes to the Detroit Lions right now, you look at the Eagles made a move, the 49ers made a move, the Seahawks made a move. Where do the Lions, in your opinion, stack up in terms of the rest of the NFC moving forward?
Yeah, and this is something that has been real interesting to kind of observe online over the last 48 hours, just kind of seeing how the reaction has been. And I totally understand those that were a little bit deflated. You saw your rivals improve slightly in regards to adding players on defense. And you look at the Lions and what was their biggest need? Defense. But I will say this. The Lions have been upfront. They've been clear. And Dan Campbell reiterated it. Right player, right contract, right fit, or no deal. And despite me personally not liking that, I'm looking at talent. I see Chase Young, and he's performing, and he's getting pressures, and he's doing things that could definitely benefit you. I definitely disagree with that kind of philosophy. If there's a player that can perform, then you got to add him. But with the way in which the Lions have a path to the NFC, I think that it's going to be a situation in which the Lions, I think, are going to finish with the number 2 or 3 seed because of their easy schedule. So with the Lions, you just have to, in my opinion, I do trust Brad Holmes. I do think that James Houston and Josh Pascal can fill in and play very well along the defensive line. But for me, I look at it and I understand and sympathize with the fans because the window of opportunity has now opened for the Detroit Lions to win a Super Bowl. And you look at it and you say, okay, how many more players maybe would they have needed to potentially not only compete in the NFC, but to win the Super Bowl? Not just get there and get your tail kicked in, but actually win it. And I think if Brad Holmes would have made 2 calculated moves, we could have been sitting here today on the bye week talking about this team winning a Super Bowl. But right now, it does appear that obviously this is a playoff team, but it's a young team that still has to learn its way. And I'm not certain now with the moves that were made that this is a team that's going to indeed win a Super Bowl. But what we can sit here and say is in the future now, this season, there's going to be probably a home playoff game at Ford Field. There's going to be competition at the highest levels, and the Lions will be there and competing at a high level. Now, how the Lions respond in the highest pressure situations, it's yet to be determined. But I think that fans are right to kind of question Brad just a little bit to say, hey, did you give Dan Campbell enough horses to go out there and compete with Seattle and the 49ers? I think that it's going to be fun to observe, but the Lions are right there in the conversation, and these are great talks to be having here in early November.
We're joined by John Macroom, publisher, All Lions, and host of the Detroit Sports Podcast. John, how does it feel? You just got asked a question by Flannel without a flannel. And I just went back and re-listened to what you said in the introduction there. And I think this is the new Sam Flannel. Well, just Sam, actually. My apologies. No flannel for the foreseeable future. Just button-ups without a flannel. How do you feel, John?
Sir Sam reminds me of that history teacher that loved way too much the Civil War, and everybody that would sit there and you're in high school and you're trying to mac on the chick next to you, and you got Sam over there just kind of telling you, hey, John, you got to focus or I'm going to call your parents. And I'm like, no, Professor, it's okay. It's all good. You're rocking the new look. You're spitting the hot takes. I love it.
Oh man! So I was the kid that just was basically like messing up the game of all my friends at school. Man, I was really a dick, right?
Yeah, you were that guy, Sam. Hey, John, I do want to ask you, they did make a trade, though. They acquired Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver from Cleveland, originally from Michigan. I went to Cass Tech, I believe, as well. Your thoughts on the acquisition? I know Marvin Jones had to step away, so he's their replacement, but Donovan Peoples-Jones is even better. I mean, he's coming off 800 yards last season. You look at the first 3 years, what he did in the league. He's gotten better every season. He's increased his receiving totals, he's increased his catches. He's done a lot of good things, and I think this is a player that especially this offense could use at this point. Bigger body, can stretch the field. You can use him on special teams. What do you think of the acquisition of Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Yeah, I think that is nothing wrong with adding a reliable weapon that I think is going to fit in very well. And I think that you heard what Dan Campbell said when he explained the decision to make the trade. A guy that knows where he needs to be, very reliable, and I think can be another option for Jared Goff. And I think that definitely bodes well for this offense. I think that, obviously Jameson Williams is being brought along slowly. It's been inconsistent. And I know people are kind of tying it into what does it mean for JMO. But if you just look at it for Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think it's a great opportunity to come home and play for the team that he loved. We all saw that picture with the jersey as a young child. I think he's going to be motivated, and I think he's obviously going to be the right culture fit, somebody that wants to be here, that I think is going to make some plays. And early on, speaking to a Cleveland Browns beat writer, obviously a reliable potential third down target, somebody that can go over the middle and make some tough catches. And I just think that with the Browns, people say, well, why did they move on? I just think that sometimes there's a fit that maybe is just not exactly right. And for Donovan Peoples-Jones, last year you saw the potential that he had. And I think here in this offense, where you have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta also getting attention, I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to find some plays that are going to definitely help Jared Goff. And I think that's what this offense is looking for, is another weapon. Obviously, Marvin Jones wasn't really doing much, so his presence this year really wasn't that much lost. But I think that if you add a player that can be reliable and another target for Jared Goff, that opens up the running game even more.
Speaking of that running game, how about Jahmyr Gibbs? I mean, by the numbers,
you were right, John. You were right, John.
He had one of the most impressive performances any running back, period, has had all season. Just how impressive was he, and what is his ceiling with the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, first of all, it was great to see. I went to bed early after that Monday night game, and I wake up at 6 a.m. and I find out that the Raiders blew out their coaching staff, blew out their general manager after the abysmal performance that they put on against the Lions. So I was like, wow, man. Yeah, that performance the Raiders had was really abysmal, and it got their coaching staff fired. Well, we all knew it. That Raiders run defense was terrible, and the Lions fully took advantage, namely Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think that for a week now, it quieted the critics that were kind of riding the Lions and riding Brad Holmes, saying, how can you take a running back at number 12? Well, if you got Jahmyr Gibbs, and I had a great opportunity to talk to him for a few minutes last week, talking to him about some things in his early season. And look, early on, Jahmyr Gibbs was struggling running through the tackles, kind of being a little bit impatient, a little bit nervous. And it's tough when you're running into a wall of defensive linemen. It is tough exactly to time it exactly right. But with experience, with coaching, with opportunities to hear what others in the league have said about you, obviously Jahmyr Gibbs showed more patience, trusted the offensive line, found the right holes, and really used fundamentals to be able to be explosive. And you ask what the ceiling is, I think he can be a very productive, speedy running back that can electrify Ford Field. I think he's going to get the opportunity to get hugged by more ladies in the stands. So I think that guy has all the potential in the world because, one, I think he's got the right attitude. I think that he loves football. He's a speedy running back that I think can definitely learn quickly and adapt. And I think early on, there were just some things that definitely needed to take place developmentally. But Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense, I think, has the potential to move forward. And it's going to maybe cause a debate regarding who should get more carries. And that's all you can ask for. A 1-2 combination with David Montgomery coming back healthy and Jahmyr Gibbs, that's how you win playoff games. If both of them are clicking at the right time, this Lions offense is going to be super tough to deal with.
Yeah, John, and that's kind of what I was going to ask you. With David Montgomery, obviously him being out, he was missed in the red zone last week. What do you think his projection is? Lions have a bye this week. Do you expect to see him back against the Chargers in 2 weeks from now?
I do. I think that, man, the bye week came at the exact perfect spot. And boy, what a 1-2 punch. I think you guys saw there were red zone issues that took place, field goals instead of touchdowns. And I think David Montgomery, if and when he does come back, allows you that individual that can get into the end zone, shed some tackles, and be another weapon for the Lions. And you look at it now, guys, 6-2, an opportunity now to go out on the road against the Chargers. I think it's going to be a great game. You got Herbert and Austin Eckler. And it's, I think, going to be a fun opportunity for the Lions to see where they stack up against another quarterback that's considered among the greats in the game. And you look at David Montgomery, I think that, yes, he was missed, but the Lions got the luck of the schedule in having an opponent like the Raiders where you can kind of have you're not the best performance, have some turnovers, have Jared Goff have an interception that was really unfortunate, but you still come away with the victory. So I'm hoping that David Montgomery does return because, man, the more situations, the more challenges you can present to opposing defenses, I think that just bodes well for this team. And, man, guys, 13 wins is on the table. It really is for this football team. Why? Because they play well on both sides of the football, and in the trenches, things are going well. And if you can have the run game, if you can actually open up that play action for Jared Goff, he's going to have himself a great second half.
John, three things I look for, and you, as many people should look for, when you look at a great organization or an organization that's on a winning trajectory. You look at GM, you look at head coach, you look at quarterback. The Lions, at least in the NFC North, have the best of all three. Is it fair to say that not only the Lions are going to win the division this year, but I think they're going to win this thing for the foreseeable future, John. Especially they lock up Jared Goff. He's the best quarterback. He's playing like it in this division. You got Dan Campbell, who's only trending upwards, and Brad Holmes, I think, is by far the best GM and will continue to be. Is it fair to say the NFC North will be run by the Lions for the next, 5, maybe even more so years?
Well, here's the reason why I think fans got excited to maybe push all in this year. Next year, if you have the season that we're all expecting, 12, 13, 14 wins this year, you're going to play a first-place schedule next year, and your competition level ramps up. And so there's no guarantee year to year that there's going to be success. And that's why I think some fans were just like, push all in right now. Just go for it. We don't care about long-term success. Let's just win it and try to go for it right now. Why? Jared Goff could command a bigger chunk of that salary. And here's what that means potentially. If Jared Goff commands and he doesn't want to kind of work within the parameters of what the Lions want, if he wants to break the bank and have a $55 million a year contract, that could potentially mean losing a player like Jonah Jackson. That's kind of what happens. You can't pay everybody. So I do think the Lions are well run. We will start to see in the coming years Brad Holmes restock this talent. I think that obviously he's clearly one of the best talent evaluators in the division. But year to year, it's tough to project how this football team is going to look. But on the surface, it looks really good. There's a lot of chaos at the quarterback spot for all these teams. And I think that's where you can have confidence is that Jared Goff is playing at a high level. You hope it translates in the postseason this year. But when you look at it, man, the Bears, Vikings, Packers, they all have abysmal quarterback situations right now, and that puts the Lions at a very good spot. And really, guys, when you look at it, the Lions are the most stable franchise right now. You could see upheavals in a lot of those teams, and I think that it does bode well for success. It's just hard to project that many years out because I want to see how Brad Holmes decides to allocate the money. Who gets paid? I think it's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson. But then you look down the line, who are the players that potentially may get the unfortunate situation of having to be let go? Maybe it's a lineman, maybe it's a defensive back. You never know. And it'll be interesting to see because you literally can't pay everybody. So the Lions are set up for success, but you just can't guarantee it that far ahead.
Yeah, 100%, John. Again, thank you, John, for joining the show. Again, this is Thursdays with John Macroon. He'll be joining us every Thursday, helping up the show. The Doc helping us out. Again, and you could catch John. He's the publisher of All Lions and the host, of course, of the Detroit Sports Podcast. You can find him on Twitter, Detroit Sports Podcast. Thanks, John, and we'll see you next Thursday. Enjoy the bye week.
I am definitely enjoying it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all the support. Love coming on, talking football. And let's just hope Connor Stallions doesn't end up on the wrong sideline this coming weekend. And let's hope that everything works out for Michigan, because every single day something weird and shitty keeps happening. And let's see where this Connor Stallions ends up this week.
Yeah, it's an interesting storyline, ain't it? All
Laughing
right,
all the way to the natty.
Yeah. Oh, no, okay, John.